Bedford County Sports Talk Live, hosted by David Thomas, Bill Anderson, and Kenny Parker. Brought to you by First Bank of Shelbyville. And Kincaid Service Company. Let's talk some sports. Here are your hosts, David Thomas, Bill Anderson, and Kenny Parker.
Welcome into Bedford County Sports Live on a good fall morning. And thanks to my daughter, Julia, for bringing us in. But Julia's wrong. We don't have David Thomas.
Yeah, David's not here. He's, and I wasn't going to be here, but Aaron called me Wednesday and said they told him he's going to Jacksonville. So that messed my wife and I's plans up. So
well, we got the coach, Kenny Parker. We've got Drew Hooker, the radio soon-to-be legend.
There you go.
I'm just holding on, letting JP carry me.
I got the two radio guys right here.
I'm old. That was a long time ago.
That don't matter. You still there.
All right, we're going to hear a break from our sponsors real quick. We're going to come back and talk high school football. But our sponsor, First Bank, thanks to them, and Kincaid
Service Company
right here in Shelbyville. Let's hear from our sponsors.
And I saw them coming in. Kincaid's got a big sale going on right now.
Oh, nice.
Mm-hmm.
And I bet they'll haul it off, too.
I bet they do.
All right, let's hear from our sponsors.
Kincaid Service Company is a locally owned family business that has proudly served the Middle Tennessee area since 1934. We have a wide selection of furniture, appliances, electronics, and mattresses for every budget and design taste. We carry the brands that you know and trust, so you're sure to find exactly what you're looking for. Need financing? We have you covered. With our service department, you can rest assured that we will take care of you after the purchase. Visit our Shelbyville store at 400 Madison Street today.
It's football time, and it's a football morning in Bedford County. We're going to talk a little high school football. Let's start with Cascade, Kenny. Tough.
Too many athletes on the other side.
Oof.
I mean, it looked like reminded me of those South Pittsburgh teams. I mean, those guys can run. There's a couple of times Cascade had them hemmed. Gets 1-2 steps, and the old guy running the box has to run to the other end and put it on the 3 when they get. I asked, why do I have to be down there?
60-11 was the score last night.
Yeah, it was. Cascade just outmanned.
Right.
Just outmanned. Sure. No, too many athletes.
All right, Webb played BGA last night, and I guess this was a chance to go to the playoffs.
They're in the playoffs. I think Webb's in the playoffs. Yeah, they're in the playoffs.
Okay, they lost to BGA last night. Pretty bad.
I think
55-14.
A couple of weeks ago when I watched them play the Davidson Academy game and they won, they said that got them in the playoffs.
Well, good.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, Webb, they've done a really good job out there. Coach Gage just
seems
to
he does a good job.
Stuck with it. You know, he's had a couple rough seasons having to go through the Division II and things like that. He survived that, and you can see now that when he's playing some equal talent, that they're winning a bunch of ball games.
And the new classification is really going to help him because he's not going to be in the big boy. He's going to go down to the smaller guys.
And they're going to be hard to handle in that classification.
That'll be hard.
Absolutely.
But it's probably going to have to go east again.
Just get there. Doesn't matter where you go. East, west, it don't matter. Just get there.
At least he'll compete.
Hopefully, we were hoping Community could get a win. They went up for Red Bull, and last night they fell 31-24, very competitive game. Mm-hmm. And that's tough for Community because that was their best chance for a win.
You know, and here's what's tough, Bill. Next week is the end of regular season. Right. It seems like just the other day we're talking about getting started and doing our next week's it. And we've only got one team here, and two teams, Webb and Shelbyville, that's going to get to play in the playoffs. So support.
Well, the one thing with Unionville that's a little different is they got one senior. You know, they've only got one guy out there that is really a leader of that football team. And so they're a team that's kind of searching for somebody to take charge and to really have some leadership. And but that bodes well for the future. I mean, I think that does with having a lot of starters that are younger. But they've had a tough season, but I think that they've got some ability and some opportunities out there. They've just got to try to harness some of that, and they've got some really quality athletes that just haven't been able to put it all together.
Cascade's sort of the same way. They started the season with 5 seniors, and they only have two healthy right now, I believe. So the majority of their team that they're putting on the field are freshmen and sophomores.
Right.
Yeah.
And I made a comment to Coach Karkoff was there last night. Of course, his son Jared is the head coach, but basically playing JV game every Friday night.
Right.
Because of the youth.
All right. I believe Coach Judd Dryden, he's listening. It's time to talk
Congratulations.
Shelbyville.
Congratulations, Coach.
What a win to go down to Lincoln
Big
County.
win. To win in the pit.
In the pit and win 35-7.
To win in the pit and to capitalize. I think you had a pick six and a fumble recovery there at the end of the game to just totally seal it. But I'm going to tell you, there's a lot of good football teams that left that pit with their head looking at the ground. So,
and Lincoln County's well coached, as we all know, and they had a good game plan. We had a good game plan. But Drew really enjoyed last night. My wife, we were watching that for a minute. She goes, let's just go on the deck and listen to Drew and them. That's what we did. And we listened, especially the second half. Y'all did a great job last night.
I appreciate it.
You and JP's awesome.
Yeah, I kind of ride on his coattails. He's by far the professional of the group. I like to bring a little different perspective, a little coaching aspect of it, and kind of talk about it for maybe what Judd's thinking or JC's thinking in those moments. And I'll tell you, the one thing that really stood out to me was the environment. I mean, it was exactly what you want on a Friday night. I mean, packed house on the home side, and then a big contingency of Shelbyville fans show up. And, the bands are playing. I mean, the environment, the game ball was delivered by Vanderbilt Life Flight. They brought a helicopter right there on the 50-yard line. And it was really neat. It was an enjoyable game to call. Shelbyville just seemed to be, they never got out of not being in charge of that game. Even when they had a couple drives that they weren't able to put some first downs together, you still knew that the defense was going to bail them out. And Shelbyville I never felt like it was a situation where Lincoln County could ever get a grip on that game. And, I feel like, and I said it before the game, and I actually texted him late last night, I believe this was J.C. Hunsaker, one of his best called ball games. Just a nice balance between run, pass, some plays that really had to make Lincoln County think. I was just impressed. I think the coaching staff, from the head coach all the way down to, every single one of them had a great game. You could see the substitutions were clean. Special teams was improved. I mean, I think from top to bottom, from the players, the coaches, the fans, I think it was by far the best game of the season.
And you had your best player, arguably, Robert Bailey, not healthy.
No.
He just wasn't. But it didn't matter. Stephen picks up the slack. Zimmerman picks up the slack. The play calling was great. But we still had Robert, and it was a little bit of eye candy at times.
Absolutely.
It's got what you got to do.
But that's what you got to do.
Well, I'll tell you, Zimmerman, one of the things that I've seen with him is early in the season, he was 2 hands on the ball downhill every time. And you can start to see him evolve into a full running back because he's able to take those outside zones, make one cut, get up vertically. And so I think that, you're starting to see some depth being built, both at the running back position. You have Mason that come in at quarterback a couple weeks ago, so now you feel comfortable there if something happens. Receiver.
Talk about Mason for a minute. A couple of plays where we shifted him and moved Steve. We did some nice play calling because we would move Steven out into receiver and move Mason from receiver to quarterback a couple times.
Yeah, I mean, early in the game, you could see that they were working on some things to set something up, and that set the long play up in the second half. But the one thing you could see what the design was is they had William Bobo, Stephen Bobo, and then they moved Robert over to that side as well. So you had probably 3 of your best players on one side of the ball. Well, Lincoln County overcorrected to that. when they rolled out, just a nice little throwback to LeBron Ransom, and he took it to the house. Now, unfortunately, I think it was a little controversial call. We had two guys that didn't get fully set when they snapped the ball, but it was just a great play design.
Yeah, because actually LeBron took it to the house twice, and one of them was called back.
Yeah, and so it was impressive to be able to sit back, and it makes you comfortable going into the playoffs to know that you've got some creativity in your back pocket when you need it. But just the traditional inside and outside zone been pretty successful for them.
And defensively, that's where Shelbyville hangs its hat.
Gives other people things to have to practice against.
Sure.
We've said, we saw it last week in the Alabama-Tennessee game, defense. You can hang your hat on the defense.
You can.
You got in there. There's an old saying, Bill. Offense wins games. Defense wins championships.
Yep.
Defense is going to come to play week after week.
And I want to talk about Palmer Edwards a minute.
Best player on that.
He team. Last night put on a show.
Is that number 10?
No, it's 32.
30.
Okay.
35.
35. Yeah.
Oh, okay. He was a lineman.
Yeah. Well, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. He played. He's so. I think that and you talk about all these players across the field. I think Palmer Edwards your MVP so far this year. He's played offensive line. He's played tight end. Mm-hmm. He's played D-line. He's played everywhere they've asked him to, and he's excelled at every one of them. And I'll tell you, on the D-line, I said it last night on the radio, I hope to goodness there's some colleges paying attention.
I do too.
Because
he
is disruptive. I mean, I bet he's hit the quarterback over 30 times this year. Now, not all of them have been sacks. He's, tackles he's tackles for loss. But, I mean, he has been disruptive every single game, and he has single-handedly kept quarterbacks uncomfortable, and it's not allowed. I mean, Maddox Franklin's a good quarterback.
Oh, he is.
And, I mean, he did not feel comfortable all night last night, and I don't want to take away, as we're talking about Palmer, I don't want to take away from Zion Bonner.
No, Zion.
I mean, Zion Bonner has been in the backfield consistently.
More sacks again.
Yeah.
He's long, he's rangy, and he can get to the quarterback.
More than 10 sacks this year.
He sure could.
I think that,
I had him with 7 going into the game is what I had him with for the season. And so he had 1 or 2 last night, didn't he?
Yeah, and that scoop and score.
I mean, scoop and score he had.
Edwards, I mean, the depth they're building on this D-line, because going into the game, I was talking to the radio for Lincoln County prior to the game, and, they were saying that Lincoln County was going to go 6 or 7 deep. And we got talking about our D-line on Shelbyville, and I just told them, I said, we've got about 7 or 8 guys that we will play at some point during that game, and every single one of them will be impactful. I mean, John Stanton and Ellington Scott.
Ellington Scott's another one.
Colton Clardy.
Yeah,
I mean,
Colton.
Colton doesn't get on the stat sheet a lot from a stack standpoint, but what he does is he pretty much clogs up all of that interior offensive line and allows Lavorne and Thiem to make a lot of those tackles.
Brody Lavorne. What else did you say about that kid?
Yeah, I mean, it's just this front seven. There's gonna be few people in the playoffs that are as talented as the Shelbyville front seven.
And we're starting to get interceptions. The first 4 weeks, I don't think we had one. I think we're up to 13 now, or 14 or something like that.
Yeah, they're getting the ball, and
William Bobo had a pick last night. Talk about William for a second.
Yeah, William. The thing is with him is he makes some spectacular catches.
Yes,
ones that you're like, oh, they're going to knock that down, and he changes and moves his body to get in front of those balls. But I think that play, along with the snap over the head of the quarterback, those 2 plays changed the whole dynamic of that ball game.
Because Lincoln County's driving when William picks the ball inside the 5-yard. I mean, it basically stopped the drive on a potential scoring drive for Lincoln County. Well, it was a great interception.
Well, they had made that big long pass in the drive before, so they got a little comfortable throwing the ball. And to be able to take that away, I think that pretty much deflated the whole confidence of the quarterback for Lincoln County. And I think more importantly than anything, it took the crowd out.
Yes.
Because the crowd was in it with cowbells and with the, they were all the way from the start of that first quarter all the way in that game. And then when William intercepted that ball, you could just almost hear the whole crowd. I mean, just completely die down at that point.
And LeBron Ransom, I think he's healthy. I don't think his hammy's tweaked anymore. He was flying last night.
It's good.
Had the 2 long balls, one of them called back, and then had that pick 6.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. I mean, LeBron has really turned it up, to on defense. He sat on that ball whenever they threw that little hitch. and he jumped that route. And I mean, it was as pretty of an interception as you can have, and there wasn't nobody going to slow him down. And and then had one touchdown called back. Had the I think another great play design by J.C. Hunsaker, where they pump faked William on a slant. Both the corner and the safety jumped that, and then LeBron kind of snuck out there in the flats, and just really great play design. But we mentioned it on the radio, JP, that that's a hard ball to throw from Steven, because you're getting hit, you're falling back, and it's very easy to underthrow that ball. And he put it right on LeBron and was able to race to the end zone. And so just all across the board.
What helps this team too is Stephen Bobo's ability to run.
Yeah,
makes all the difference in the world, because it gives you another playmaker. He can take it.
Most defenses don't account for a quarterback being able to run.
And he's got speed.
Most defenses don't account for a quarterback, because when a quarterback can run, the defense is basically a man-to-man, and it's not accounted for. And then when you get an athlete like Steven, that arguably could be one of the fastest guys on your team, it puts your offense in.
How many yards? You got some stats over there. Tell me about some of the stats. How many yards did Steven have just running?
Yeah, Steven, let's see. He had 52 yards rushing. Oh, no. I apologize. That was first half. Yeah. 78 yards total rushing. Zimmerman had 35 yards on 7 carries, and Bailey had 47 on 9 carries. And, the stat that stood out to me was from the defensive standpoint. Dobbs was averaging 7 yards a carry.
Yep.
He was averaging 170 yards a game, and they held him to 102 yards on 32 carries for only 3 yards a game.
That's pretty good.
And that he was a good football player. I mean, he's played a lot of different positions. I mean, he moved around to quarterback, running back. I just think that they had a good game plan, and did not allow Lincoln County to get outside of just their normal offense. They didn't allow them.
It made them have to throw the football.
Wasn't there, and I was going to say, wasn't there, didn't see it, but it sounds like to me Shovel got up. When Shovel got up, Lincoln County's game plan pretty much had to change. They wanted to play that pound.
I thought they stuck with it pretty good until the fourth quarter, when that was where it really got.
They play the old Kenny Parker. Yep. If I got the ball and you ain't, you can't score, and that was their game. But Shovel took that away.
I think middle of the third quarter, what you saw was as Shelbyville overcame their offense not being able to move the ball. They got down in their end of their goal line. They were able to get a couple plays, but they weren't able to get the first down. Had a bad punt. Defense came in, had the turnover with William Bobo, and then they turned around and couldn't move that, and then had to punt it away, and the defense held them again. That was really, to me, where Lincoln County had their opportunity to get back in the game. Shelbyville held that off, and then whenever Ransom took that pass to the house, that was the end of it for them. Once you got up by 2 touchdowns in the second half,
it's over.
They had nothing to go against that. So
I don't remember the last time Shelbyville went to Lincoln County, won 35-7 in the pit. It's been a long
When's the last time we
ago.
Went to Lincoln County and won?
I'll tell you, me and Judd talked about this prior to the game, because we were on staff whenever the 66-44 game 4 years ago in 2020. That was Puckett's first year. And we went down there, and it was an offensive juggernaut on both sides. Defenses forgot how to tackle. And I just unfortunately was on the defensive side of the ball coaching with Judd. So we had, quality players. And that game, we kind of talked before the game. We didn't want to recreate that game. And, the defense sure did not recreate that. They came out and were dominant from the opening snap all the way to the end of that game.
Sets up next week is, of course, huge, but Shelbyville now wins the region, or a portion of the region. They play Tullahoma next week for the outright region title.
Yeah,
at Tullahoma.
Well, I mean, they've got a guaranteed home playoff game now, because they're either first or second. And then you go down and take business again. Take care of business against Tullahoma. You win the region, and now you got at least two.
They've got a guaranteed playoff. You win, you've got multiple guaranteed playoff games. So Tullahoma's a big game anyway.
Mm-hmm.
It's playoffs are now.
Big game anyway.
Playoffs started last week.
Yep.
But if you're tied or second, you got one playoff game at home. You win Friday night, you've got multiple because you at least got first and second round. And I don't know how it sets up. Could be a third round. And
could be, but
that
I
third
think Page
round
is set up, and we'll get to them in a
Okay,
minute. They're
yeah.
set up to be home this time. Because last year we had home field for the playoffs if we kept winning. This year it'll be Page. But anyway, great win. Congratulations to the coaches, the kids, the fans, Eagle Nation. Great win over Lincoln County. All right, guys, let's talk some other scores real quick. Moore County, 46. Forest, 37.
Don't
kind of a
surprise
shootout
me a
right
whole
there.
lot. Yeah. But
Marshall County, 54. Whites Creek, 18. I bring that up because Marshall County now plays Pearl-Cohn next week.
That'd be a big game.
That's going to be interesting right there. And that'll be for their region title. Spring Hill, Tullahoma, not a surprise, 31-10. Tullahoma wins. Lawrence County, 35. Franklin County, 17. Page, 49. Centennial, 7. Page is good.
Page is a good one.
I think that's the only second team this year that scored a touchdown on them all year.
I looked before I came in to see what the playoff scenario possibly for Chevrolet will be, and it's to be determined because Page and Nolensville play this week. Both of them are undefeated in their region.
Not anymore.
Nolensville
got beat last night.
Okay. Well, they're still going to be
right.
If Nolensville beats them, it's still going to be 1-2, and then Centennial and Hillsboro play for third and fourth.
Right.
I'm going to tell you, Page is good, and we played them in the preseason and got to see them up close, and they're good.
Page is a real deal.
Yeah.
But
no doubt about it.
I think that Shelbyville matches up as good if they get that far, to go against them. But Page is always a tough ball game, and so I think
I agree.
Anytime you've only given up 2 touchdowns all year, you're pretty good.
Yeah, they've got a linebacking core that doesn't match to many others.
No, they sure do. Marion County beat Cannon County 42-7. No shock. The big game last night was Ravenwood Oakland, double overtime. Ravenwood goes for 2, 32-31. That's a big win for Ravenwood.
That was a really good catch for the 2-point conversion at the end. So
Oakland's had some close games all this year. They've had some teams that battled them down to the wire.
That could be another matchup in round 3 of the playoffs.
I agree with you. I think you might say that as well. Well, we're going to come back and talk college football here in a second, but right now, let's hear a break from our sponsors, Kincaid
Service
Company and First Bank.
Kincaid Service Company is a locally owned family business that has proudly served the Middle Tennessee area since 1934. We have a wide selection of furniture, appliances, electronics, and mattresses for every budget and design taste. We carry the brands that you know and trust, so you're sure to find exactly what you're looking for. Need financing? We have you covered. With our service department, you can rest assured that we will take care of you after the purchase. Visit our Shelbyville store at 400 Madison Street today.
Texas.
Welcome back here. We're going to talk a little college football. I'm Bill Anderson. We got Drew Hooker, Coach Kenny Parker. Guys, I would not be a good Tennessee fan if we didn't rehash the Tennessee-Alabama game for just a second.
Defense, and more defense.
Yeah. I think Tennessee just absolutely, they just played better.
When's I was talking to my brother, both of us Alabama fans. When's the last time? I got 2 Tennessee people here. Tennessee had a better defense than Alabama.
I said the same thing during the game. It's been a while.
That's what won the ball game.
Now, the first half, I didn't think Tennessee played that well. Quarterback was off, didn't play well. The quarterback played much better the second half, but the defense was there the whole time.
Whole game.
And that's what shocked me a little bit.
I tell you, these skill position people get a lot of credit, and they deserve it. But them big old ugly boys, them big old boys up in the middle that play up front on offense and defense, there's where your games are won.
When is the
There's where
last
your
time
games are won.
that Alabama lost to Vanderbilt and Tennessee in the same season? That's been a while.
Yeah, the thing is a lot of Alabama fans. I've had to, a lot of my friends. I grew up in Alabama, and a lot of them, and they have to forget we just had the best coach of all time retire, and then on top of that, you have players that have been in a completely different system.
Well,
it's going to take a transition.
Sure. And you said we had one of the best coaches, but then when he left, about 15 players left also.
Right.
That's either starters or first backups. And now when you have to go to a backup, you're going to a freshman. So
I kind of feel like Alabama had been depending on Milroe to run the ball more than they probably need to. But Tennessee did a great job stopping that.
Tennessee's defense, that's what
they played lights out. And the coverage was better. Number 3, the corner for Tennessee was really good.
If they can get the offense to play better, Tennessee could make a run. I think that defense is definitely a championship level defense.
Yeah, ain't no doubt.
They just got to get their young quarterback to not turn the ball over and to start the game.
Well, here's the thing:
they got in the first half.
You would talk about the young. They better keep the young quarterback healthy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because if he goes down,
the back
they don't have much behind him. It's not good.
I agree.
Not good at all. All right, guys. Drew, I think you're going up to watch Vandy today.
I am. JP, he has tickets, and I'm going to go up and hang out with him today and watch a pretty good Texas team. And I'm going to tell you, Vanderbilt, they better be on upset alert. Vanderbilt
can play. Vanderbilt's playing. They're confident.
The Todd Bobo line is 18.5. Texas is favored, but normally this line would be 27, 28, 30.
Mm-hmm.
I think that if there's a turnover or two by Texas, I think this game goes down to the wire.
I think if there's a turnover or two, you see Manning at quarterback pretty quick. Because
I think you'll see Manning at quarterback pretty quick anyway.
Yeah,
I don't know what's changed, but he's not playing well.
Well, he's still hurt,
and maybe that's what it is.
He's not mobile.
No, he's not.
And you got to be mobile.
Yeah,
you've got to be mobile.
If this game's close at halftime, they may go with Manning the start of the second half to really kind of see if they can spark that offense. I think they'll start with Ewers, but I think you'll see.
It's kind of just neat.
Also.
It's kind of neat. We've got major. Everybody's looking at Nashville for a change in Vanderbilt. It's just amazing what Clark Lee's done to energize this program.
Well, bringing in Jerry Kill, bringing in a lot of these these I guess advisors or deep in the coaching staff that are former head coaches. He's doing kind of that model of some of these top head coaches across the country, and he's bringing in quality head coaches that were head coaches elsewhere to come in and help build this program all the way around. The offense, this is the first time in a while, probably since Jay Cutler, that they've had a quarterback back there that they can trust.
He's good.
He's very good.
Does a good job.
All right. Around the SEC, LSU, Texas A&M today. That line was 3. It's down to 1 now.
So
the money's going on LSU.
It's
hard to win.
It's
hard to win in College Station.
And that place will be rocking today.
And I don't know that LSU's got the defense. They got the offense.
College State, Texas A&M's playing good, and I think that game's a pick 'em, and I think that's why it's got down to that plus 1. I think that LSU's getting the benefit of the doubt because of how well they played up to this point, but I think that's a pick 'em really.
Yeah. Auburn at Kentucky, the line's 2.5. Auburn's getting 2.5. Can Auburn win an SEC game? They have come so close. But they do something at the end of the game every week.
And here, you say that Kentucky's been doing the same thing.
True.
Which Kentucky team are you going to get?
Right.
Are you going to get the team that beat Georgia, or are you going to get the team that's laid an egg a couple times? So again, Kentucky's been all over the place, but I don't see Auburn beating Kentucky. I think that all around Kentucky's the better ball club right now.
I think so also.
All right, Missouri at Alabama. That line started at 14. It's up to 17.5. It's gone up 3.5 points.
Quarterbacks out, running backs out for Missouri. So maybe they're game time decisions, but I think you're probably going to end up with a third string quarterback.
Well, this isn't last year's Missouri team either.
No,
it's just not. Arkansas at Mississippi State. Mississippi State's getting 7. And guys, Mississippi State has played. They're not winning, but they're playing better.
They've played better. I mean, they played well last couple of weeks. So
and that's
a new coach. That's just his players are beginning to learn his.
At the first of the season, if I told you Oklahoma was going to Ole Miss and the line would be 20.5, nobody would have believed that one.
Oklahoma's wheels have come off.
They have, haven't they?
They met the SEC.
Have come off.
Well, I think a lot of injuries on offense.
And I don't think this was the same kind of Oklahoma team that they've had. I think, but like Drew said, they welcome SEC, and week after week they're having to play.
I do like their freshman quarterback they brought in, though.
But
there's just so many injuries.
Well, I mean,
they're
5 receivers down right now.
Right.
I mean,
5 down.
You're playing sophomores and freshmen in college, and that never works out real well.
There you go. It don't work out in high school either.
No. Top 20 action. Illinois at Oregon, 21.5. Illinois is not bad, guys. Can they play with them a little while? I think they'll cover.
But it's at Oregon.
It's at Oregon, but I still think they'll cover.
That's a pretty good flight.
Another team I just want to mention real quick, Washington's in Indiana. This is the best Indiana football team I've ever seen.
I think Indiana. I think it's going to be hard
they're
to beat
pretty
Indiana.
doggone good.
I'll tell you a game to watch today is Wisconsin is playing
Penn State.
They're at home. It's with Penn State. It would surprise me if Wisconsin don't win that ball game.
Wouldn't surprise me either.
No, Wisconsin's always a tough out. I mean,
and
Penn
I tell
State,
you what,
they're all over the place.
I don't know their names, but I'm gonna tell you what, that Wisconsin place is fun to be at. Because I went and watched the Alabama game. That is if you ever get a chance to go, your team ever plays there, book it, Dano. You want to go to that place.
It's one of those traditional
It is
places.
a place to watch a ball game.
They get a little rowdy in the third quarter.
Hey, have fun.
Well, how many years, guys, would we have to go back to when the service academies were in the top 25, both of them, Navy and Army? I bet you got to go back 50 years for that.
Yeah, but you know what? When you go back to those years, they were there. They were in the top 4 or 5 every year. But I agree with you.
That's just not – Army's really good. And today, Notre Dame goes to Navy. Navy's getting 13.5 at home. I think Navy's got a chance to beat Notre Dame.
It wouldn't
surprise me.
Wouldn't hurt my feelings.
Wouldn't hurt mine either. We talked about it last week a little bit. And Kenny, I don't think you were here, but that quarterback at Army impresses me so much.
Well, he's able to do a little something that Army's never been able to do. Of course, they can all run the option.
Oh, yeah. He can run.
But he can throw it. Put it in the air a little bit.
Big.
And got some guys that can catch it, too.
He's built like a lineman.
They run
runs like a deer.
They run very similar to that old Georgia Tech offense from the late 90s, early 2000s. When Calvin Johnson was there, they're able to run the ball efficiently, but then they can throw it up there and let somebody go get it.
And when they throw it, it's usually a one-receiver route.
Yep.
It's a one-receiver route because you're throwing it when they're not anticipating it. And a lot of times we say they can throw it. Dude's wide open because everybody else is trying to stop the option.
They got 9 in the box.
That's right.
Eyes in the backfield.
Mm-hmm. All right, here's my upset of the day. BYU, a top 10 some places at UCF, and I think UCF beats them. Line's 2.5. UCF's changed quarterbacks. They got the freshman there. Looks pretty good. I don't think BYU's as good.
I know why you're picking UCF because of Malzahn and the old Auburn connection.
Malzahn's a good coach.
I agree.
I mean, he is not the guy you want doing your NIL, but he's a guy that can absolutely coach.
UCF's come on. I just don't think BYU's as good as they're advertised.
Well, I'm the same way with Penn State.
I don't disagree with you.
I'm the same way with Penn State.
I think this year there's going to be some teams make the playoffs in the top 4 or 5 spots that'll be upset first week.
I agree.
I
agree with that too.
They're overrated on some of those top 10 teams.
And somebody said something. Of course, I live down here in the SEC country, and there's no undefeated SEC teams because they said, just like I said, they're cannibalizing each other. They're beating each other. Then you go up north, and they talk about how good that play. Well, they don't have but 1 or 2 teams.
Right.
And they don't play anybody.
The one thing about the SEC right now is it's always been a disparaging, with recruiting. You've had 4 or 5 teams dominate recruiting. NIL has changed that.
Mm-hmm.
Like Vanderbilt now going out and finding a quarterback that fits their system, and they were able to get a senior quarterback and now go from a mediocre team to one that's beating top 10 teams. And, that you're starting to see that Kentucky, Mississippi State, you're starting to see these teams be able to get players that they normally weren't able to recruit. And they're being able to do that through NIL. And all they got to do is recruit 3 or 4 kids, and that really changes the dynamic of what you're doing.
It helps you. Mm-hmm.
All right, we're going to take another break here from our sponsors, come back and briefly talk about a little depressing professional football if you're a Titans fan. It's
Not if
depression
you're
time.
a Packer fan.
If you're a Titans fan, it's not good, folks. Let's hear a break from our sponsors, and we'll be right back.
Incade Service Company is a locally owned family business that has proudly served the Middle Tennessee area since 1934. We have a wide selection of furniture, appliances, electronics, and mattresses for every budget and design taste. We carry the brands that you know and trust, so you're sure to find exactly what you're looking for. Need financing? We have you covered. With our service department, you can rest assured that we will take care of you after the purchase. Visit our Shelbyville store at 400 Madison Street today.
Savoring them draft picks.
Welcome back in Bedford Kansas Sports Live. Drew Hooker, Kenny Parker, Bill Anderson, and William. We're going to talk the Titans. We're trading everybody away. DeAndre Hopkins for a fifth, and
fifth, possibly
maybe a fourth.
If he stays healthy, it'll be a fourth because he's going to play 60.
Well, I didn't understand. I wouldn't have agreed to this part of it. I'm fine with his playing time, but them going to the Super Bowl is what they have to go to make the Super Bowl to get the four. That's in the. That's in the.
Is that in the contract?
Andy Reid's the master.
Hey, Andy Reid's good.
I mean, come on.
He's
good. The chances of them making the Super Bowl is always high.
And it went way up with DeAndre Hopkins because it's going to help him. And good for D Hop to have a chance to play for the Super Bowl. And that was a class move by the Titans, sending him to the right organization where he wanted to go. Then they trade Dearness Jones, the fourth, who we just gotten for a 4 and a linebacker to the Seahawks. He's played really well. But he's in the last year of his deal.
But that's a positive. He's in the last year of his deal. Who says they're going to sign him back? But now at least they got a 4.
Right.
They got a 4, and Drew and I was talking. These NFL teams now, they are coveting their draft picks more than in the past. In the past, they would give somebody and give them a 1 or a 2, or you see what's happened to Chicago where they've got the ones.
Built their team
that ain't happening no more. They're holding on to those draft picks because of the way the game's played in college. I mean, and they're holding on to those draft picks because of the salary cap.
Oh yeah, that's all to do.
And you can put more money when you got more people in their first 3 or 4 years. You can afford to spend money on.
But once you start tanking, the next thing you'll see, and you see it on the injury report, if you're a little bit hurt, you're really hurt.
Oh, yeah, that's a fact.
And they're not going to play.
And
this is going to get bad. It's going to be ugly.
That's in high school.
Right.
That's in college. It's the same way in college. They don't play in the bowl games. It's the same way in college.
This is a good year to be in the top 5. There's going to be about 3 or 4 quarterbacks that are going to be out there, and you've got to decide.
And you need one.
Well, you need to put Levis out there the rest of the year. And
you got to see what he can do.
See what he can do.
Right.
I already know.
But, yeah.
Well,
pick 6, fumble, interception.
If you do that, then you know.
I already know.
But
let's go ahead and do it.
He's what? How many games he started?
Too many.
Yeah, he's around 12 now, 12 or 13. It's just the thing with Levis is he tries too hard. He tries to win the game, and
he's a linebacker and a quarterback.
He has no football IQ.
He just needs to learn how to not lose games.
But in a pair of shorts throwing the football, he's as good a looking quarterback as there is.
And somebody made the comment they used to hound Alabama quarterbacks because they say he was a game manager. Their game managers are game managers.
I'd love to have Trent Dilfer right
now. And then I heard somebody say the other day that Patrick Mahomes is the best game manager at quarterback. And I'm thinking that's what you want. You want a game manager,
not a game giver away.
What's a game manager? A game manager is a person that keeps you in the game, that doesn't commit turnovers. That's what you want.
The one thing about Ron Carthon is he has set this team up so the contract with Calvin Ridley can be voided out after this year, and he can get most of that money back. You trade DeAndre Hopkins away. You had $70 million of cap space next year without losing those two. So now you're probably getting closer to $90 million.
And all these years, all these free agents we signed were basically 1-year deals.
Absolutely. And so the thing is I think what was their plan was going into this season, they were going to give Levis all the tools. They're giving him 3 receivers with Boyd and all these
to see what he can do.
Defense, see if he's going to make or break. And he's not the guy, so we clean house, start this thing over, and with the top 5 draft pick.
He's got a few receivers, but doesn't have tight ends.
No,
I'm disappointed in the tight end play. You got to have a tight end in the NFL now. I think the tight end position in the NFL is where you can take more advantage of a defense because of the matchups. So I think you got to have a good. Their defense is set. They got the number 1 defense in the NFL. Whether you believe it or not, they can play with anybody, and that's keeping them. I mean, like the coach says, first half, they're winning most of the first halves. They just can't put it in the second half, and that's because the defense is having to play so much. You give a defense an offense, and to me, it starts in the offensive line. I think they got 3 of the 5 pieces right now. I think they got a good left tackle. I think they got a good left guard, and I think they got a good center. The right guard,
I think
the
you
right
put a better tackle there.
Abysmal.
The right tackle. You put a better right tackle there.
The right guard gets better.
The right guard gets better, and then a good tight end. Running backs are good.
Yeah,
running backs are good. The receivers are decent enough because the guy that came from Arkansas, we not liked that pick since we got him, and do you have to go all in for a quarterback? Just depends on if it's a quarterback you're wanting. But there's going to be a lot of good free agents. The backup quarterback today, it's just like you said the other day when they got ready to play the Colts. You better hope that Richardson's not playing. I think same ways with the Titans. As you were saying now, I don't think their backup quarterback's that bad.
You got to decide what you want to be. You've either got to go the Detroit Lions route, which is build up the offense and defensive line through the draft and go get a veteran quarterback that's successful.
I think that's
or you got to go the Houston Texans route, which is where you dump everything and then go after the young quarterback and then build them with veterans around them. So you got to do one of the two.
And even when Detroit did this, they went 1-2-14 that one year before they started this run. So they went to the bottom.
You've got to be careful when you dump everything and go for the quarterback. Because that is
gotta be the guy.
And if he's not, if you miss, you're starting all over again in 2 years.
Well, and the last time the Titans drafted a quarterback that was good was Steve McNair. That's in the 90s.
Well, think about it.
See, they tried to do that with Marioni and
Vince Young.
Well, Levis, they're not out anything. He's a second-round draft pick.
True.
Their money is done after next year with him, so they don't even have to keep him on the roster to really save any money. So they're not in a bad position. This was a bad football team 3 years ago, and they just haven't been able to get better because the free agency market's not been out there, and the quarterbacks in the draft have not been great where they picked. And so I think that at this point, I like the Detroit Lions model of going ahead and drafting in the first round, top 5, a right tackle. Get that, then you got Latham and you got a right tackle. You've got that offensive line set. Then go find one of these veterans. Sam Darnold's available. Some of these others that'll be available next year.
And this is me, Parkerism. They got to have more than one player.
Yeah.
So if you're a top 5 pick,
trade out of that.
Get you another first round pick somewhere. You might even get another first round pick the following year. Or another second-round pick, but you'll get multiple picks because you need multiple positions. And but I think that's where they are, and I think, as bad as I hate to say it, I think that's Cawthorn's. They'll have to. They can't say it, but he knows that, and
that's what he set it up.
And the head coach, he knows. But they're all competitors, and they all want to win. But I think their defense is solid. They're a linebacker or 2 away from really being used to. We talked about their secondary, and it wasn't. Their secondary is pretty decent now.
Well, the fans have got to get it out of their head that Brian Callahan, because there's been too many people calling for him to be fired. The thing is he is a good quality coach.
Exactly.
He just ain't got a good football team right now.
He don't.
And you've got to look at all these teams that are in the playoffs right now. Detroit Lions went 3-13. Just 3 years ago. And so now they're one of the best teams, if not the best team in the league. And, Dan Campbell, there were people calling for him to be fired.
How cool would it be if they won the Super Bowl?
I think
I think it'd be
It
awesome.
wouldn't be very cool if you're a Packer fan.
Well, but
I'm a Titans fan, and I've got to find somebody to follow. And Detroit,
Hey,
They're
I'm
fun-
going to
they're
tell
fun
you
to
right
watch.
now, I like Dan Campbell.
Yeah.
he's
He's a super dude.
And they're playing well for him.
And they
Jared
want
Goff,
to
all
play
of them.
for him.
Yeah.
They want to play for him.
Well, that's who the Titans have Sunday. The line's 11.5, and I don't think it could be high enough. The Lions are going to whoop the Titans, and it's not going to be pretty.
Well, here's the thing about the Lions. The Lions are you like I heard somebody say you want to score at halftime because they're not going to keep pouring the coal on them in the second half. They're not going to keep pouring the coal. That's not Campbell.
Well, the good news is Levis isn't playing tomorrow, so we're not going to have the pick sixes. So that's a positive for us.
You think
they're going to start the other quarterback? Packers and Jags. The line's 4. I think you Packers in good shape. Jags aren't. Jags going the wrong way.
I don't know. Jags aren't as bad as everybody looks at. They lost a lot of one-score games. They're coming off a win, and
I'll say this: if he lost in London, they would have fired him, and he wouldn't be the coach right now.
I think Titans need to call the Packers and find out who they draft because they keep landing these quarterbacks every time. They figured it out.
Or they trade for 1 hour to win games without a quarterback.
Here's what they've done with their quarterbacks. They don't draft a quarterback and say, "Hey, you're playing."
Absolutely.
Right. You like Love. He got 1 year to be. Now he sat and watched Aaron Rodgers for 3 years.
Confidence.
And you got to learn. And what are you looking at? And I think you throw them in and you can burn them. It's like a good steak. If you you got a really good steak and you throw it in the fire, and the fire's too hot, you're gonna ruin it.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to let it.
Well, that's how every first-round quarterback did.
Exactly.
They came in, sat for a couple of years, learned from the veteran, and then they played. And then somewhere in the early 2000s, we switched to where everybody had to start if we draft them. Well,
that's because you got the good ones like Peyton Manning and they were, and then they said, "Well, Peyton did it. We can all do that."
You've got 2 teams playing tomorrow that did this: the Bears and the Commanders. Who would have thought they're both one's 4-2, the other's 5-2?
Jaden Daniels is good,
and even Caleb Williams, who's got weapons around him, is a true rookie.
Yeah, he's a rookie, and he's a number 1 overall. But most number 1 overalls are not put on a team like he was put in on.
And they got a good coaching staff.
And where that came from.
But now the Commanders, he didn't go to a really good team around him.
A couple of years ago, they gave up a pick and got a couple of first rounders, and they're a young team.
Oh, they took the Carolina Panthers, set them back 20 years, that trade for Bryce Young. 49ers, Cowboys, big game. That's on Sunday night. The 49ers are just so beat up, even though Dallas isn't playing well. The 49ers got left.
My fantasy team's looking good. I got Purdy and I got Kittle because that's the only person he can
throw. But it's the only ones left.
Is the running back not coming back though?
Not this week.
Oh,
they come back after the bye week.
Okay.
But they're down 3 receivers right now. Juwan Jennings last night they pulled him out. He still got that hamstring and hip. So it'll be a good game just because the 49ers are so good on defense. But he's got Kittle, and that's about it.
And I'll just mention this too. Don't you feel sorry for the Buccaneers? They lose Godwin and they lose Evans in the same game and Godwin's out.
Well, Evans was playing half speed in that game anyway, but then
you could tell he probably shouldn't have been out there. That hand didn't look good to me.
He retweaked, but then to lose Godwin,
especially in the last minute
brutal.
Of the ball game.
Because they're having a really nice year. And the other game I'll just mention is the Eagles and the Bengals. And I think the Bengals might be starting to get right here. There's something about the Eagles I don't like.
Yeah, the Bengals defense is just so suspect, and Philly's all over the place. I don't know. They don't know what they want to be.
I think they have a coaching problem.
But look at the teams that you're talking about that are good. What do they all have in common? Defense. They are all playing, with the exception of Tennessee, they are all playing good defense.
The exception I will give is Baltimore. Baltimore's playing awesome. Hats off to Derrick Henry. Hats off to Lamar Jackson. But if they don't start playing some defense, they're not going far in the playoffs, guys.
They've been close in every game.
But you know who they're going to have to go against? The best of the best right now.
Mahomes.
Well,
And Andy Reid.
Andy Reid.
And that defense of the Chiefs is what's winning games. That defense is good.
Andy's just got to make the playoffs. It
don't
matter if he goes in as the first or seventh.
And he's going to get his running back here pretty soon. He's coming back, and that'll help when they get Pacheco back.
Dude sharp.
All right, guys, let's wrap this thing up. A special thanks to First Bank right here in Shelbyville and Kincaid
Service
Company. Drew, do you like hauling stuff off?
Oh, Lord, no.
Kincaid's. Get it. They'll haul it off.
Next week.
Last week
of the season.
We got games.
Cascade, Halloween night, Thursday night. They're at home with Marion County. Community.
Watertown.
At Watertown. Is that a Friday night game?
Friday.
And then the big one.
Shelbyville,
right
Tullahoma.
Down the road, Shelbyville, Tullahoma.
Providence Christians at Webb.
That's a chance for Webb to.
And Columbia's at Lincoln County. That one could be interesting as well.
Yeah. Webb's got a chance.
I heard on the show just before we leave.
And before we leave here, I want to give a shout out to the Cascade girls soccer team who played in the state championships last week. They come up short against Chattanooga Arts and Science, I believe is who they were. But
and their golf team
won the state a couple of weeks ago. Yeah.
Did y'all hear what Tate on the show this morning on 104.5 said that basically, I think he said half the games are on Thursday and half on Friday, the way they did it this last week.
Well, I don't know that they did it that way. The teams, TSSAA.
Maybe you don't want to play on Halloween, too. I didn't think of that. That may be some schools.
Well, Halloween's Thursday.
That's why
if you didn't want to play on Halloween, you play on Friday.
Right.
But what TSSAA did a couple of years ago, because of the official shortage, everybody has to play a Thursday night game. So you're either going to play, most of them's either going to play their Thursday night game, the first game of the season, or the last game of the season.
There's a bunch of them this Thursday.
And there's a lot of games on this Thursday.
We'll be back here next Saturday morning at 9 o'clock live as always. Stay tuned for the Judd Dryden Show. It will be on Tuesday as always at 6, and we'll have player interviews and be getting ready for the Tullahoma game, and we'll have the community show on Wednesday.